right, so welcome to another webinar in the Energy Storage and Market Series. My name is Kyle Pease, and I'm a Sales and Design Engineer here at RENVU. Today, we're going to be hearing from Terrence Parker, the Compliance and Application Engineering Manager at Solis. He'll tell us about their new Series 6 Hybrid Storage Inverters with the latest UL 1741 SB certifications and the other residential and commercial products. This webinar is recorded and will be uploaded to our YouTube channel and will also be available as a podcast. We'll share links to those in a follow-up email. And before we dive in, and while we're waiting for some more people to join, I'll give a little background on RENVU and some of the products and services we offer. So RENVU is a US-based solar equipment distributor. We've been in operation since 2012. A unique aspect about our company, myself and the rest of our sales team, we all have engineering backgrounds so we can support your in-depth technical questions and catch key design factors looking through your bill of materials. We have fulfillment facilities spanning the continental US, including California, New Jersey, and Texas. We invest significant capital into developing online tools to make it easy to get quotes for your projects and compare pricing with our competitors. I'll show the online quote tool in just a moment. So this year, I'm also glad to say we are planning to increase significantly our inventory across the country to avoid those supply chain constraints we've been experiencing in the last few years. We'll have a stable supply of commercial and residential modules, string inverters, optimizers, microinverters, batteries, racking, and the rest. We'll jump on to the next slide here. I'll take a moment to point out a few of our popular products and current deals. First off, for those tuning in, we have a $100 gift card for Solis residential inverters. Also, to pair with that, Pylon Tech high voltage batteries we'll have up on our website shortly. And panels, we have on the shelf multiple options, including a great deal on the Longi 345s. We also have VSUN 400 watt in black on black, some Trino monofacial 480s and Q-Cells bifacial 480s, and also some Hyperion 540 watt modules that should hit the tier 1 list soon. So I do recommend getting those before that tier 1 is reached and those prices jump up. A large selection incoming includes also Canadian REC and JA Solar. In addition to these modules, we also are adding Toledo Solar, who makes the cadmium telluride solar modules similar to First Solar. These are US made and eligible for the extra 10% ITC when installed in C&I projects. We'll share a data sheet in the chat on those. Also, we have Solarc as our most popular hybrid off-grid inverter. We keep a solid stock of their lineup on the shelf. There's a $250 gift card per Solarc 15K or 12K, and $500 gift cards on the 30K and 60K. We also have $400 gift card for the new Fortress Power NV 12 kilowatt storage inverter when you buy that with an eVol or eFlex batteries. Also, our most popular battery, the Home Grid Stacked, there's a $75 per module incremented discount, so up to $600 gift card if you buy their 8 module 38.4 kilowatt hour battery. And these offers are scheduled to end on the 31st of the month, so take advantage while you can. And we also are sharing in the chat a link, or maybe in the queue. I'm not sure, Peyton, how you're gonna put that out there. I think maybe we can share in the chat. So yeah, you'll see pop up in the chat a live spreadsheet link. This is our commercial module price list for bulk large quantity orders of modules. We keep this continually updated, so check there if you need large quantities of modules or if you want to just see where the market price is at on those. And I'll take a minute here to mention our Blicker residential carport. This is a great way to expand existing solar systems or as an alternative solution where you can't install on your existing roof. Shown here is a 2-car carport. There's also an option for a tandem solution with shared columns so you can connect multiple of these structures for larger parking areas. The carport structure is designed to be assembled by a crew of 2, doesn't require any specialized or heavy tools to install it, and is DIY friendly. This is a solar structure, so is eligible for the ITC. The carport is supplied with Iron Ridge racking system and under panel collapse for a sleek aesthetic. It accepts any module and inverter you want. When combined with the Blicker EPDM T-gasket, the surface becomes watertight. And you can add on a decorative mesh underneath to hide the solar components and electronics. Also, lights can be added to the front columns without running any wires or drilling any holes. Depending on your local AHJ requirements, you can run all that wiring through the carport columns without an external conduit. Also, EV chargers can be added to the carport back columns where we have pre-drilled holes to install the NLX juice box chargers and cables. It is designed and fabricated in the US and comes with a 25-year warranty. And here's a structural PE stamped engineering letter. We have linked also on our website. You can install up to 24 solar modules in the 60 cell size in general with 4 columns of 6, or if you're going with Toledo, that'd be about 5 columns of 10, and any other module we can also fit as well in basically an 18 by 18 foot post to post dimension with that cantilever. You're looking around 20 by 20. Basic load capacities for the structure are 35 PSF, can be upgraded to 65 PSF if you need as well, let us know. And there's 175 mile/hour wind load rating, seismic design category E. And again, that's a 18 foot by 18 foot post to post dimension and a 9.5 foot clearance with a 5-degree tilt. You can find a 3D model of our standalone and tandem carports on the Blicker website, and we'll share a link to it in the chat if you want to play with it and see the different components. Okay, briefly here, so we've been developing online tools for you to be able to get quick quotes and bill of materials for any project. And you can access this through our online design and quote tool from our homepage. I'm going to jump over to our webpage now to go through that. So scrolling down from the top of the homepage, you'll see the solar design and quote tool. Just leave it at the grid type for now. We're actually cleaning this up and it will all just go through the grid type pathway, even if you want off grid. So just hit next when you get to this tool for now. And then you'll see this next page where you can select a full system, or if you just need a subsystem of just solar panels and inverters, for instance, you can do that as well. And then on the next page, you can select your panel. If you wait a minute, it takes just a moment for our servers to sync up, and it will show you the dollar per watt cost. So you can get kind of a non-dimensionalized cost metric to compare these different panels price points. Make a selection on the panel you'd like. Then on the racking page, you have the option for tilted roof, flat roof, carport, ground mount, and a variety of sub options such as the roof material. Let's leave it at metal roof, standing seam, which would give you that S5-U mini clamp. And then you can add in the number of rows and the number of panels for each row, orientation of those panels, as well as the rail duty rating and color. You could have that match the modules for a clean appearance. And it'll give you a little racking sketch below here to get an idea of the dimension, make sure it would fit within the boundaries of your project. Then the next page for inverters, you can select between microinverters, optimizers, string inverters. Oh, and one other thing I didn't mention, as you're making these selections, and if you want to kind of compare between, maybe you want microinverters, maybe you want string inverters with DC optimizers, and you want to compare the price point, you have a bill of materials updating dynamically as you go through this, and you can compare the subtotal there. And if you're not sure about any of the components, maybe you don't know exactly what's all entailed with that Iron Ridge racking system, you can click on the item there. It'll pop up a separate page, so you won't lose your page on the website. And you can check out the data sheets and technical briefs to get some more details about those components and how they work. So you can learn as you go. It's really handy for the DIYer to learn all that. And you can also add in this inverter page the battery backup options or energy storage. So if you leave it at yes, you'll have options for storage inverters and batteries that go along with it. If you are just wanting like a standard grid tie, hit no, and you can then make your inverter selection as well as the service type. And then choose your inverter. Depending on the array size, you also see your DC to AC wattage ratio to get an optimal pairing for your strings. And then at the bottom here, there's also rapid shutdown and optimizer options. Then on the last page, just a couple balance system type check boxes you can add on, the cables and connectors, PV wire, also the PV labels to pass inspection. And if you need a EV charger, you can add that on as well. Once you're done with that, hit finish and then generate quote. Make sure, check these boxes that you agree. Consult with solar professionals before purchasing if you aren't sure. Yeah, once you hit those and hit submit, just give it a few minutes. It takes a little bit for our system to compile that quote and generate a PDF for you. Once that's done, you can actually jump over to my account here and go to your quotes. And then in the quote tool, it might make you log in again. It's a little finicky sometimes. We're trying to do a little bit of updating on our website right now, so just heads up on that. But yeah, once you're over to the quote, you can review that quote, you can edit item quantities, and then you can review and place the order, get a copy of the PDF. So yeah, really handy tool. It's one of my favorite parts of my day-to-day is keeping this tool up to date. So I'll jump back in to the webinar here. And okay. All right, so I think we can start now. We have a significant number of participants logged on. As I mentioned, this webinar is being recorded and we'll upload it to our YouTube channel and it will be available also as a podcast. We'll share the links in a follow-up email. All participants will get a $100 e-gift card for any Solis residential inverter you buy. The details on how to redeem this will be included in that email as well. If you have any questions during the presentation or the Q&A session, please use the Q&A button, which makes it easy for us to make sure we've answered all your questions. I encourage attendees to add questions and remarks. This makes the webinar much more interactive and fun. So let's please all use this. All right, so Terrence, I think you can take over now and start sharing your slide deck.
Hey, Kyle, thanks. I gotta say, we've been doing RENVU webinars with Solis and you, and your solar design tools have really improved. I mean, it's really great to see such easy to use and nice click through menus. Really excellent. I'm really, it's really cool to see. And I also saw that Blicker carport I introduced a year, maybe 2 years ago now, and that's got some real. Being a non-inhabited structure, we could really, think about that as maybe qualifying with that Iron Ridge racking solution as a UL 3741 type of solution. Quite interesting there. And then my last comment was that PV module chart you showed, where you could just kind of look and see what's going on with big purchases, kind of get you some kind of a lay of the land. That could be very useful to some of those guys out there. Nice, yeah, the nice offerings by RENVU. That was a nice run through. I'm going to run through a presentation here that kind of goes through what Solis has been doing lately, and the company has been really kind of growing and continuously. We're still continue to promote that Solis brand name. We are rated number 3 now in the latest 2022 numbers for PV string inverters. Kyle, you can see the screen in full size. Everything, it's all right?
Yeah, it looks great, Terrence.
Yeah, fantastic. I've updated this history. We coming into 2023 here. We opened up a new factory in Vietnam. Sorry about the spelling there. We will be importing that material from the Vietnam factory directly here to the United States, and so we're excited about that. That brings our annual capability and capacity up to 44 gigawatts now. Quite a growth since we first put in our first inverters here in the U.S. in 2009, and so I've been working for Jinlong since 2016, and we've grown significantly since then. And you can see over 3,500 employees around the world. This is just a sort of a snapshot of our factory expansion recently. It's a lot of automation in these factories. One of the features of this factory is how quickly you can switch from one model to another. And indeed, the US models of our inverters are very similar to all the other models we supply around the world with respect to IGBTs and capacitors and suppliers for our chips and things like that. But they do present some differences for sure, regulatory wise and conduit wise and that sort of stuff. So this factory has to be able to switch over from a European type in IEC certified inverter to a UL certified inverter, for example. Yeah, so if you have customers out there who are still wondering a little bit about Solis and their operations and what we do, you can, under NDA, we can send you this third-party kind of validation. I think DNVGL is a respected group, and they did they thought quite a bit of our operation, and I do too, and I think that you could get a good overview of what we do globally with that report. Here in North America, we have been, as I noted, since we got our first inverters installed in 2010. Those 2G inverters are still, there's a few of them still, in operation. And today we continue to distribute through a select group of distributors here, and we do not sell direct. I'll caveat that a little bit in that we do. There are some customers who meet our volume requirements, but I can also tell you that we're continuing to white label products, even though we want to kind of bring that Solas brand name out there. It is still something we do, and I'll tell you a little bit about some white labeling we're doing of our hybrid actually today. And we continue, for example, to be the white label commercial inverter for CSI. In addition to RENVU and their capability to handle our products, we also backstop them with a third-party warehouse in the Southern California, South San Francisco area, and that helps, I think, buffer any delivery issues for onesie-twosie situations. And certainly, all of our RMA stock is kept there too for quick turnaround. Here in the US, we're offering a broad line of products from very small residential grid tie inverters through this new hybrid we're introducing, and a wide selection of rooftop products at 480 and 1,000 volts. But we're also expanding our line of 1,500 volt products with 600 VAC output. That's very useful in Canada rooftops, for example. And the other utility products we're installing in these a kind of a new solution for us, where we're supplying these utility scale inverters with a skid and combiner boxes. We just showed these new combiner boxes at the latest trade show, Intersolar, and we feel like there's some real let's say time and labor savings and attraction to bringing an entire skid container dropped on site, very similar to a central inverter type of installation on a pad. For me personally, as an installer, I kind of like any tech that kind of helps me transition from what I was doing, central inverters, to what I'm now doing with string inverters on these skids, providing that little bit of extra power, a little bit better OpEx, that kind of thing to my operation. We also sell these really unique communication tools, these sticks, we call them, right? And so now we make them now. We're the manufacturer of all our inverters, of course, our boards and everything, and the little boards in these devices as well now. And you can go very cheap, and you can do up to 10 inverters with that less than $80 Wi-Fi stick there, right? And you just tie the inverters together with RS-485 line and run them all up on a single Wi-Fi stick, very cheap. I like that center one there where you have a Wi-Fi LAN operation. You know, you can go Wi-Fi, but if you want to hardwire it, we've really hardened made it NEMA 4X truly for an exterior type of dongle that you just plug and play on the bottom of the inverter. If you want to go cellular, we have this combination Wi-Fi cellular stick where, you know, you can set it up as a Wi-Fi when you initially get there, but should that Wi-Fi fail or it just is non-existent, it'll default to cellular and find the nearest LTE or GSM tower. Very convenient, very fast. I like to use it actually as a diagnostic tool, right? I mean, it's so small, I can keep it in my pocket, in my tool belt, and I can go to the site, remote sites, and if they've lost contact or can't figure out what's going on with their hardwire, you can plug this dude in and get back to the cloud and get some get some history on some inverter. So I like it just as a diagnostic tool. And we also offer a cloud, still free, Solis Cloud, every 5 minutes. You know, this is what you're going to register with when you tie in your cellular or your LAN communication to the local router. And this is also the client aggregator that's going to help in interoperability with the grid, you know, where the utility company is sending a particular set of instructions through our cloud to our inverters to help stabilize the grid. It's a new world, guys. And anyway, that two-way communication now with string inverters is so convenient for our installer owner operators as well, too, because now they have that same two-way 24-hour-a-day communication with any inverter they ever install. Put it all together and you can do IV curve scanning remotely and you know, really kind of find out why some particular area is shut down or something like that. You'll see I got these segmented DC switches on the bottoms of these inverters. It really makes remote troubleshooting a little easier, a little safer. On-site troubleshooting a little easier, a little safer. We also offer a service portal. So in addition to the cloud, we offer a service portal for everybody who's looking to, you know, solve a problem with one of the inverters. You can Google search any of our alarm codes. You can find new manuals and all our warranty information, application notes, all that stuff on this portal. That's part of our whole service organization that we feel as a tier 1 operation with, you know, a warm bodies on the phone when you call. And we track all of these calls using a CRM system, and we keep statistics on it to make sure that we're providing the quickest, best service in the U.S. for string inverter solutions. And indeed, we anticipate within 5-10 minutes we'll have figured out what our plan is for your issue, or we'll have already submitted an RMA, that sort of thing. So contact our multilingual staff and test me out. Give our 866 number a call, and I'm sure you'll find our tier 1 guys there ready to help. On our larger systems, and including some of our residential systems, we offer commissioning support and as well as other project management and full services for big systems being installed with Solis commercial inverters. And yeah, you'll find us at every show with our orange shoes. This is just representative of a great team I'm working with now that really includes all the way from the top of general manager and program management teams all the way down to our services group, which we are quite proud of. So let me just get into some of the products here a little bit. And I wondered if anybody had any questions about the company. Did anybody want to did we see anything focused on what, you know, Solis is and what we're doing here in the U.S.? We can take questions at the end as well. So here are your residential products. We didn't really do much with the grid tie. We just upped the DC inputs. And just to handle the bigger, larger, you know, these new 550s and that are being used in residential these days, it's quite amazing, and even larger. And these new inverters have terminals that can handle, you know, up to 14 amps on this storage inverter here, up to 16 amps. And so we're ready for the very large modules and these big strings. So, and we just had to be, truthfully. And we're providing the grid type products, as I know, it hasn't changed much, really. It just provides that rock solid reliability that has been going since 2000. 2009, right? And so we just updated with some safety features and that sort of thing, and kept the old LCD screen with the buttons, whereas with the new hybrid, and probably going forward with quite a few of our product lines into 2024 and beyond, be going into more of a Bluetooth app for integrating into and seeing everything right on your phone for all of our inverter products. You'll hear me talk about this for all of our product lines, truthfully, is the dynamic and independent MPPTs, all, aluminum NEMA 4X enclosures throughout our entire product line, all of them certified to both SA and SB with, ISO New England and other standards in there. So these can be installed anywhere around the country. Flexible design. We like to call it kind of a Microsoft of inverters, right? You can use whatever rapid shutdown system you like, whatever monitoring cloud you prefer. You have so many, since each MPPT is independent, it's like having 3 or 4 independent inverters, in one box. And so you got all different kinds of stringing capability. And rapid shutdown capability. You can get any of these devices factory installed just by putting the suffix on the end of the model name, and you can then. Truthfully, some of this stuff with the new PV fire hazard things for commercial rooftops is we may be able to start moving out of installing these on every system. But you look at a company like Intelligent that has a device that's quite a bit simpler than a standard optimizer you might find today on the shelves. It's a much smaller, simpler device that can do both monitoring, optimization, and rapid shutdown. Really interesting what is kind of started filling in that module level power electronics space other than the usual players. And indeed, a wide voltage range means more production, and that's a classic feature of PV string inverters. The hybrid is quite interesting. I think it's going to be the new platform, truthfully, for PV systems, residential PV systems going forward. It's essentially the same as a grid tie inverter. Now it's just battery ready, so you can install it as just a grid tie inverter. If indeed that's what the customer use case is now, they want to wait, they want to hear out what's going on with the batteries, that sort of thing. So they don't want to put the money in, and they don't have a lot of power outages where they are, and so it's not that big a deal. And so this inverter, just like the regular grid tie, can be installed anywhere around the country. It's native 120/240 split phase and has all that flexibility I was talking about with the other inverters. One of the more interesting things about this particular product is, it can deliver, 50 amps to the continuous at 11.4K, 47.5 there. But the really cool thing is it can deliver 76 surge. So to see this kind of surge capability on a transformerless inverter, we always used to see this with the big transformer-based, big iron core type inverters, Schneider and other inverter manufacturers that always boasted, as they should, that great surge capability of that big iron core. But now we're seeing greater surge capabilities with new electronics in these new transformerless inverters. It's quite amazing. And to have that super efficiency, even at the tails of the production curve, and to be able to do this kind of surge is quite unprecedented, and just represents the new capabilities of these products. Battery-wise, of course, introduces a whole new set of regulatory hurdles for the manufacturers and for you poor installers out there who are having to work through the installation of these new, hybrid types of systems that are both grid tie and battery. And we're getting signed up 9540 certification with a wide variety of batteries. This Fortress Aero Ultra Thin is just another example of Solas white labeling their product for another fantastic manufacturer with a well-known name here, and they're offering their batteries up to 38K, something like that, with that deal that RENVU is offering with the blocks, with 8 blocks. That's a sweet deal with their kind of what they would call a kind of a power hub, kind of a microgrid interface device, interconnection device, that kind of thing that can do whole home solutions. It's a sweet system setup, and you can really like I say, I think it's going to be the standard platform because you can set it up in so many different ways. You can set it up as just, someone who's looking to reduce their greenhouse gases and carbon footprint with a small battery and put it in self export or self consumption mode, right? They're using all their solar kilowatt hours. Feed in priority mode when you've got a good deal on your electricity. You might want to keep it in backup mode if you're worried about power losses, because of weather events happening in your area or whatever. But another really cool thing about this product is that it doesn't need the grid. This is a hybrid inverter that can work off the grid, essentially with that fortress system right off the grid. You don't, their power hub is essentially your service panel, and your load panel is now your load panel backed up by the entire system. It's too sweet. This is the kind of new thing, and this is, this for off-grid solutions. This is kind of new because you get all these new safety features, and you get the opportunity to use a high voltage battery. Whereas before, most off-grid systems, the off-grid system I lived on, was 48 volts. And so now you have kind of a choice between battery systems that you're familiar with, that that you've built, that you understand, and these newer battery systems that are becoming more accessible and more understandable, and a little bit better temperature capabilities, a little bit better footprint, that sort of thing. And so with the hybrid, it's a standard, you can do partial home with it, where you're just doing a separate backup panel, and you've got a battery, a fortress or whatever, or you've got a whole home solution with the fortress solution, or, alternatively, you can just add 2 Solis inverters and parallel them together. That's one of the cool things about the new Solis hybrids, is that you can stack them essentially and put more and more power into a backup load panel or a set of batteries. You can put a battery on one or battery on both. And another really cool feature that these hybrids have is a capability to install a remote power off switch, an RPO or system shutdown switch. This is very attractive, maybe to your local firefighters and inspectors who want to be able to say that, the system that you've installed with one touch of this red button is completely shut down, both batteries and PV and the system inverter itself. So super good for firefighter safety and inspection. So we'll get into this last section here on the commercial inverters. These we offer, as I know, big 1500 volt utility scale, but we'll just keep it here to rooftop. And this is for 1000 volt 480, and we're going to be offering a new 208 product here coming up. We're very, my sales partner Nastasha and I have been beating the drum for a while to bring a 208 inverter back to the U.S. We originally had one back in 2012-15 timeframe, but we discontinued, and now we're bringing it back. And with this new platform, you can see with this new cool removable AC wire box, it's got more room for wiring, and of course plug and play on the bottom, AC switch, so you can use it in those new 3741 type solutions. And so this might be really good for that Blinken carport solutions. It's really kind of a smaller version of our most popular inverter, 75 to 100K. But I talk about the same thing with this stuff that I did with my residential and my hybrid, wide operating ranges, high power terminals, all that. It just is a theme that goes throughout. This flexibility of design goes throughout our entire residential and commercial products. This is our most popular product, the 75 through 100. It's got really cool design, and it's easy to use. It's got these segmented DC switches on the bottom, so that should you get an AFCI alarm or something, you know exactly where it is, and you can shut down just that particular MPPT. And so all the most modern safety features, type 2 surge, and no fuses for better OPEX and of course leakage current suppression. This inverter is super popular because it comes in a wide variety of sizes. It's got super low startup, and it's got the capability to handle anywhere from 320 to 480 volts on the AC side, and a super wide full power operating range on the DC side to handle those legacy PV arrays, And so we're seeing this used all over the place to replace these older inverters that, still have a great PV array and may have some great PV wiring, so the wiring may have been well protected throughout its lifetime. And so we can re-energize, essentially, up the rate of return on these systems with a new inverter, using new capabilities to communicate with this inverter, better stabler equipment for better OpEx, and just being able to put new life into those sites that maybe the land is valuable, or the contracts, the off-taker, or the interconnection agreements are valuable. You can re-energize those projects with these new Solis inverters. And so a lot of opportunities both in residential and in commercial for different, responding to different use cases. And we really think that 2023 and going forward to 20 is just getting better and better. I've been in this business now since 1988, I'm sorry to say, but yeah, it's been a great career, but it just feels like we're just starting. It's just amazing. And I just thought that maybe we could I've kind of finished much of my remarks on the product line and that sort of thing. There's a lot to talk about with the new UL 3741 and different battery regulatory hurdles of our installers. So maybe we can open up the question and answer period and talk a little bit about it. What do you think, folks?
All right, Terrence, looks like we've answered a few of the questions throughout the presentation. And yes,
good.
please add in any other questions you guys have.
I touched on the fact that installers are really having a bit of a transition time. I don't know how else to put it, really, because the inspectors are wondering about the safety of these batteries, and our industry has to kind of help to instill a belief by the customers that these batteries are safe to have in their homes and have in their garages and that sort of thing. And so the inspectors are just trying to make sure of that, and with the requirements for bollards and other safety gear, gas detectors and that sort of thing. And so we're really in a transitional period where, as we introduce the hybrid to residential installations, we're introducing the installers to a new piece of equipment, number one, that has all these different certifications itself, and a new set of, say, safety and regulatory rules that their local jurisdiction may be enforcing. And so Solis is really trying to support in the industry a real, let's say, matrix of the differences in safety between, let's say, an NMC and an LFP battery type, and maybe even like an aqueous battery type in the future or whatever. I think there should be some gradation, be that, and we support that, and we're also supporting some sort of standardization of how these systems are installed, let's say in different temperature zones in the United States, something like that, so our installers can get a bit of a break in that. And I'm wondering whether or not any of you guys out there have run into situations where it's been difficult to install batteries. I had an installer had to install bollards 3 feet from the batteries on the edge of the, on the battery wall, and that went right out into one of the parking spaces of the garage. I mean, it was and he had to sink it 7 feet into the ground. He was admittedly up in far north, so he had to get below the frost line, but still, it was a ridiculous installation. It cost him a lot of money.
Hey, Terrence, I don't know if you're able to see, it looks like Rahana is getting to a lot of the typed questions in the Q&A, but if you wanted to pull any of those out of there and address them more uh, over the webinar.
Yeah, for example, the self-consumption question, I think Rahan is answering that, but self-consumption, I think it's what, I better not answer because it's somewhere between 5 and 60 watts. I think I think it might be 20, but I'll let that one go. Brand batteries compatible with S6. Well, immediately, right, we got to talk about Fortress because that's a brand that, and Pylon Tech, which are two brands that RENVU carries. So we've got 9540 with both those brands. So I'd say that's where you're starting out. Can we claim any amount of USA content? In the inverter, I would have to say today, no. However, the inverters will be coming out of Vietnam, so that might count a little bit for a little while. And you can also know that that some of the componentry that we use, you know, is sourced from American companies like Texas Instrument and that sort of thing. But that's the best I can say there.
Maybe to go along with that battery question, have you seen a range of kilowatt hour sizes that are potential pairings for your inverters that would meet the voltage requirements and the max discharge requirements for those?
Well, the inverter's got a max charge discharge of 50 amps. And so that's that. Because if you wanted to have more max charge discharge, you'd have to install a second inverter. We don't have like two inputs on the hybrid. So on that 11.4, for example, you'll get 50 amp charge discharge, 47.5 to the grid and to the backup panels. And well, for example, on the Fortress, with your deal there, I think you can stack 8 and you'll still be within our voltage number and they'll be at 38.6 or something. Isn't that correct? Something like that. And so that would be the biggest one. And then you'd have to parallel the batteries. And this is something that I was doing with I was doing a webinar just recently with another battery company, and they have a paralleling box. And so they could put up to 130 kWh on one battery, on one Solis inverter, you know, still restricted to 50 in, 50 out, but they could put huge amounts using their paralleling battery paralleling box, which just is a small, you know, size of a basketball kind of, you know, it's and it uses, and it just parallels a bunch of batteries together. So I think the sizing of the batteries, if you can afford it, is quite expansive. I mean, from a 5 kilowatt hour battery out to a 105 kilowatt hour battery is possible. I think that it's been my experience that you know, in that 38 kilowatt hour battery size is quite adequate for a normal, you know, typical family. Warranty, yeah, look for, as far as warranty goes, Eric, you can look on our website for our warranty page, and you can download that particular page. All the inverters that was showing there have 10-year warranties, except for the biggest ones, which have the 1500 volt have 5-year warranties. And you can get warranty upgrades or extensions directly on our website, so you can check that out. How is the product different from SE inverters? How is Solis positioning itself? That is a great question. Rahana is responding to that. You can, when we look at the Solar Edge product, we as an old veteran of the industry, I'm proud of what they've done and opening how much they've really increased residential uptake of PV systems. They're a bit overkill, I think, in many cases, but and we have kind of positioned ourselves as a me too type of deal, because with the new intelligent optimizers, we can offer the same value proposition. And you're kind of you still get a one throat to choke, with Solis as your service group, and we've got a great service group, so you actually kind of win in that respect. And then also, of course, Tigo offers a optimization package that you can add on to our inverters today with a external CCA tied to a tap on the roof, and get the same sort of value proposition there. And I can tell you that Solis is looking at Tigo, where they've been a good partner of ours through the years, many years now. And since I joined back in 2016, we were still working with Tigo, and so we're looking at integrating that CCA into maybe one of our inverters, so we can get a real integrated package with their optimization capabilities. And so I think that, as I noted earlier in the webinar, it's really interesting what's kind of falling into that MLPE space that's been opened up by companies like Enphase and SolarEdge. So it's a pie that's growing, and we know that we'll all be able to play.
Terrence, I was just saw that SE inverter question, and it got me thinking about SolarEdge. They're really prescriptive with which batteries and optimizers you can use, and have kind of specific requirements to use exactly their products. One of the nice things I saw with Solas in the new hybrid inverters in that high voltage is that they allow a wide range of different battery manufacturers, kind of creating a new high voltage competitive market for storage, similar to what SolarC has done in the 48 volt range. So I thought that was interesting to see. I was curious if you had any comments on that.
No, that's exactly what I think. That's exactly what we're trying to do here in the U.S. is offer that flexibility, because the market is changing. We want to make sure that you feel most comfortable with whatever package you put together, and indeed, you get a bit more flexibility with respect to which battery manufacturers you're using, so you maybe can size your battery a little bit better to match the exact use case. And the same thing is true on the DC side. They're optimizers, and I might say microinverters as well. They have a max output, and they can only accept a PV module up to a certain point, and maybe they have to add a plus to their model numbers to try to say that, yeah, you can use an even bigger PV module, but you kind of tap out with those products as we start getting up into the 550s and that sort of stuff, whereas Solis has no issue with that, up into the 700s, truthfully. When you look at the actual DC-AC ratio capability of that 10K, for example, rated at 330 volts at 14 amps, that's 462. Oh, that's 4,600 watts per MPPT. There's 4 of them. That's 1.8 to 1 with not a problem for the 10K inverter. And then you look at that surge capability on the hybrid. I'm telling you, the flexibility of the Solis platform, I think, is really what you were getting at there. And I think that's what we're also shooting for in the US market.
Oh, I saw a question from Conrad on the smallest Fortress battery. I did want to just make a note. Make sure that the inverter you choose to pair with Fortress or any manufacturer's batteries are sufficiently sized that you won't exceed the max discharge rating of the battery. Some inverter manufacturers can allow preset max discharges. I'm not exactly sure about Solis, but I do know that some battery manufacturers won't honor warranties if you pair it with an inverter that exceeds the limit of the battery.
Yeah, I mean, this is again part of the new complication of installing hybrids. And as I note, you can install it as a grid tie product and not get into it. If you're feeling a little uncomfortable, just install the grid tie, the hybrid as a grid tie and say, hey, we can do batteries later, and you can figure out more about it. But yeah, that's why we have that 3.8K, that little dude, that can also put out 3.8K, right? And so it has a lesser discharge rate. And so I think that Solis has always put out small inverters, and indeed we put out 1,000-watt inverter in the UK. But it's really it's interesting in that you can stack. For example, if you can only afford a 5K WH and Fortress battery, for example, and you can get up over 120 volts, then you can put it on a little 3.8K hybrid Solis inverter, and you've got a sweet little system there, right? But if you all of a sudden get married and have a couple of kids, you may want to expand. You could actually parallel another 11.4K inverter with that older 3.8K inverter with the smaller battery, and you put a bigger battery on. That's the flexibility you've got these days.
I see a question from Bailey Smith about minimum kilowatt hour bank. It'll really depend on the battery manufacturer, but a general rule of thumb I've seen is that 1C discharge as a maximum. So 1 kilowatt per kilowatt hour. So for example, if you had a 10 kilowatt inverter, you would want a minimum of a 10 kilowatt hour battery bank, but it really comes down to the max discharge amperage of the battery and the minimum draw from the inverter.
And then as the manufacturer, I want to make sure that the battery at least reaches my minimum voltage of 120 volt DC. So I want to make sure that it at least gets to that. That's a hard rule on for me as a compatibility with my product. And that usually means probably 5 kilowatt hour generally.
Terrence, that actually reminds me of, have you seen people implementing 48 volt systems in series to reach that minimum voltage, or are we looking at specifically newer high voltage designs for that?
Yeah, I've thought about that. Could I put together 10 of my marine gel cells together to get to 120 volts? And I would generally say that I don't think that that's going to work. I imagine someone's tried that, but these charging algorithms are generally for an alkaline type lithium charging, where you see kind of that characteristic voltage profile of a discharging alkaline lithium type battery like this, that you have a little dip in the beginning and then it's pretty flat across the top and then it drops off. And whereas the old lead acid profile is more kind of a straight 45-degree line heading down in voltage. And so I think just the different profiles, different ways that they accept like C1 is pretty fast for a typical lead acid battery, right? Whereas lithium doesn't have a problem with that. And so I just feel like if you were to, I would have to ask my battery gurus about this, but for me, I really think that, I would worry a little bit about lead acid going up that high. But LFP, I see Tim Olson saying he only allows to parallel 48 volts, but you'll see that all these high voltage options from Pylon Tech and Fortress and stuff that RENVU carries all go at much higher voltages. Public utility requires PCS for all self-consumption. Well, we do have a PCS. We have a little power meter on the hybrid. It comes with the hybrid, an acrometer, and so and the 11.4K is under 12, but yeah, so the public utility should be able to accept the Solis hybrid. Your comment about excessive battery size relative to an inverter, yeah. So that's true. And holding, that's another cool thing about high voltage batteries, is that holding a lithium battery at 60% for 3 weeks, 4 weeks is just not an issue like it would be with a lead acid battery. And you can, so they're a bit more forgiving in that respect. And that brings me to, all these new systems. When I was going off grid, it was kind of well known that there would be times where maybe I'm going to need a generator backup, to have one around was nice. And we would, kind of hack it into the system and charge our batteries again. And I really feel like a lot of these new systems with new homes that are putting in, $30,000 systems it would behoove them to actually think of a small generator backup with that, because people make mistakes. They don't know, energy management that well. But these new, that's what's so important about the new interfaces on your mobile phone for these hybrid systems, is they really have to be able to teach people a little bit about what's going on with their system, as well as allow them that control that I think is going to be so attractive to new homeowners as we go forward, as they hear about these new hybrid systems and the things they can do, and the things they can do on their phone to control loads and have a good window into what's going on with their system in their own home, really as a little bit of an energy hub. These new hybrid inverters kind of take that role. And so it's going to be very interesting, and I think it's going to be a lot more exciting for you guys selling solar power. So many other new use cases can be applied to these systems that RENVU and Solis are offering here. So I'm looking forward to seeing a few of you guys maybe at these SE solar, these solar energy industry associations. So meetings, and then on the phone or through our chat stuff. So thanks everybody for attending. RENVU, thanks again. You guys are great.
Yeah, thank you, Terrence and Rihanna, for hitting all those technical questions. So if you guys have any other questions, you can email us at info@renvu.com. Again, this webinar is recorded, and we'll send out a recording link in a follow-up email. Thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of your week.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.